the NFL stands for not for long.
Set, Sharga and Armstead. Roll out, Walker still running out. Looks to the left, wide open, Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of him.
What a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofton corner the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
Too many words are left to say, so they get left behind.
Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of the Colin Thompson Show. Lots to talk about today. Before we do, though, what's going on there, Jack, in the back?
Nothing much, it was a pretty quiet weekend, I feel like I really haven't been doing anything interesting these days. I kind of just sit around, get stuff done for not for long over the weekend, the occasional mulch. I can't even mow my grass anymore because we're in the midst of like this massive, just like dry spell. Like we barely have gotten any rain. All of my hard work I've gone is trying to grow my grass has just been ruined. So I'm just extremely frustrated with that. So I've kind of just had to take the L on that, but we're trying.
Yep. I haven't mowed the lawn in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. That's a record here at the Thompson household, but I'll be mowing it today, laying down some slate today, weeding, getting ready to rock and roll here, Jack in the back. Everything we do at the Colin Thompson Show is brought to you by Not For Long Media. New exciting things coming this way here soon. Stay tuned for a major announcement, PSA, if you will, coming this week on all Not For Long Media social media platforms. So really excited about that. Shout out to the Fudge Kitchen. They've been in our corner and supporting us for so long, and it is the summertime, and it is fudge time. It is saltwater taffy time. It is sweet treat time. Father's Day is coming up. Every dad loves a little bit of peanut butter or chocolate fudge. Tell me I'm wrong. I wouldn't believe it. Maybe a saltwater taffy, something to just chew on as they're walking down the promenade in Sea Isle or hitting the boardwalk in Ocean City, Jack. Guess what? You can get it in all those places from Ocean City all the way down to Cape May, multiple locations and different shore points. Check them out. And if not, they'll ship it right to your door. FudgeKitchens with an S.com. They make it. It goes right to the back office. The USPS stops there every day. They box it. It's gone fresh at your door, 2-3 days. You can't beat it. So shout out to the original Fudge Kitchen, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. Jack's good to see you today. Guys, I'm really excited for a guest coming on today that we recorded a couple weeks ago. And a lot of these will be pre-recorded episodes attached to the back of these. So if you want to jump ahead to Craig Reynolds, feel free. But Craig Reynolds is an absolute stud and a legend from, where do you go to high school, Jack?
So, Abington. Great Abington.
Yes. I thought I caught you off guard. I'm like, he's going to screw this up. Craig went to Abington, had a great career at Abington. Right. And even he'll talk about it. A solid career at Abington. Not amazing, but solid. And it led to him getting under recruited and going to Kutztown, Division II. Great football in the PSAC, a great division with Shippensburg and East Stroudsburg, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, all those schools in the PSAC. A lot of NFL players come from it. And he goes to Kutztown, has a great career, bounced around the NFL, and has made a home for himself in Detroit. He is literally exactly what you embody as a Detroit Lions football player. He was all over Hard Knocks last year. They're talking about him. They didn't want to cut him. Just an absolute stud, and really is a great NFL player. And I'm just a huge fan of Craig and his journey. He's a great guy, great family. Father is a great football coach in the area. A lot of greats out of me today. So, really excited for you guys listening to Craig today. We had a blast getting him on. Some technical difficulties through it, Jack, that we got to remember that we got to take out if we didn't already. But stay tuned through him, and we had an absolute blast talking today. So I digress. Lots to talk about on the show today. A few different things that I highlighted just over the weekend, just different things that popped up that came up. So I want to address, again, the kickoff return rule change in the NFL. We touched on it a few weeks ago with Dan Brown. And Mick McKenzie was on from Sam Boners. Jack was on. And it was a lot of things just pouring out why Jan and I are just kind of unpacking the new kickoff return rule. So what the kickoff return rule is this. Teams that kick off If the kickoff return team fair catches, they get the ball on the 25-yard line. It's a rule in college football if you're used to it. So there's a lot to unpack here. How will the coaches react? The coaches react a few different ways, but the main way they're going to be reacting now is they don't want to lose the game or make a major mistake to put a team in a spot where they're getting the ball returned out to the 30, 40-yard line, right? That was always the issue before. The kicker they want the kicker to put the ball on the 1 or 2 yard line, so the returners had a decision to make. Does he bring it out? Does he let it go? Well, now that decision's kind of taken out. If it's got a ton of hang time, they'll fair catch it. If it's a straight line, they'll receive the ball, and you got to cover down. So that's how the coaches react. They're going to worry about how not to beat themselves. Is it good for the NFL? Yes. It's a cleaner product. The perception is there's less contact, less head injuries. And really, if you think about it this way, it's a quicker way you get your franchise quarterbacks on the field. There'll be more marketing and all that stuff when kickoff teams out there, because the ball vast majority of the time is going to be fair caught or kicked out the back of the end zone, so they'll pop in a little 30-second commercial as Aaron Rodgers walking on the field to the 25-yard line, almost like it's a routine thing. So it's going to look a lot more routine, a lot more quicker. Is it good for the players? It's good for some of the players. Lots to unpack here, but the return specialists, they're going to be gone. There's some on punt that they will stay, and they'll be mainstays. Your, fifth wide receiver, that's a really good punt return guy. Your third or fourth running back, that's a good punt return player. Maybe a defensive back that can return punts as well. They'll stay on the team. But your specialist that just returns kicks, I think they'll be dying on the vine, sadly. Physical fullbacks, physical tight ends, their main special teams unit is kickoff, because they don't run down on kickoff return, because they don't run down amazing on kickoff. Punt, they're not natural tacklers because they're fullbacks and tight ends. They don't tackle every day. Linebackers do. Defensive linemen do. Big safeties do. So I would see more teams being built like that, or they're just going to plug and play an extra running back. You could even see maybe an offensive lineman on kickoff return, because at the end of the day, they're not going to be returned. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic. So it's going to hurt different groups of players. And then something to watch is special teams coaches just saying, screw it, in the preseason, and talking to each other before the game and saying, we need to evaluate how these kids are going to cover kicks that are rookies or second-year or third-year players. That's the bottom line of the preseason. If you watch preseason football, there's a lot of special teams play because they're trying to get tape, and they're trying to give guys tape. So if they don't make this team X, other teams can evaluate them, team Y, and sign them. So there's a lot there that we just went through. But the bottom line is there's going to be a little bit of a shift change in the NFL. It's not going to be dramatic for the fans. They're probably not even going to notice it. But from a player's perspective, you're going to see some special teams coaches going through things a little bit in the preseason and kicking the ball and trying new ways that the kickers can get involved in the game, because it devalues the kicking position too. You may see, a punter just bang it through the uprights now, and you may see your kicker just be kicking extra points and field goals. You'll see some of that in the league, right? It affects different positions and how the rosters are built. So again, that's the preseason with the coaches. And then in the regular season, different coaches have different philosophies, head coaches, and they most of the time say, hey, what do you think, special teams coach? What do you like to do? And they say, go ahead. And usually special teams coaches want to be aggressive and go after it, pop a ball up, make the kickoff team go down there and set the tone. Well, that's gone now. Or it's going to be encouraged to be gone. They're going to be encouraging fair catches, right? It's going to be advantageous to get the ball on the 25-yard line every time and start your drive. Your scoring percentage goes up drastically. So look to early on some aggressive special teams play, maybe some squib kicks, maybe some things to keep the ball in play so you can't fair catch it. I look to see a squib kick that's going to settle around the 5-yard line. So the returner's got to make a decision here whether to bring the ball or out. And the ball's been skipping on the ground, so there's a lot of air time there. So that all works until a run gets popped and a kickoff return guy, breaks it to the 40, and then it's over. Right. Then the rest of the year or the majority of the year, they're popping fair catches or they're kicking the ball deep. So a lot I just went through there. It's good for the NFL. Yes. It's going to hurt some players. Yes. Coaches are going to all react differently to it. It's going to be a really fun thing to track this year, in my opinion, on how it's all going to go down, the intricacies of it, not just like, oh, yeah, I'm watching the football on Sunday and here's another touchback. I think it has more effect on that on different rosters, especially the back end of the rosters. How does it affect player 46 to 53? And I am one of those people. I was one of those people. I'm trying to be one of those people. So that's really a long-winded way of me saying that I think this rule has a little bit more impact than people think. So, Jack, I just went through a lot there. What was something that is on your mind, or something that I said that triggered a thought for you?
I think that the NFL is essentially trying to ease their way out of special teams in general. I think they're testing the waters there. I don't think that comes as a shock to anybody. Just from multiple standpoints, it's generally perceived that special teams is the most dangerous aspect of football that can be avoided. Not anybody disagrees or disagrees. That many people different viewpoints on that, but that's kind of the general conception amongst casual fans. And most casual fans do not care about this. They see it as just a regularity. Like extra points are going to go in. You know, like the kickoff's always going to be fair caught or tackled within the 20 or 25. The punt return's always going to be fair caught. So they don't really care about those plays. They see it as really almost an extended commercial. Now, granted, that's not the case for me. Other big NFL fans, they like those. But for 85% of their audience, they do not care about special teams. So they're just trying to listen. If we can get rid of that, we could just kind of expand viewer retention, make the sport safer, allow for some more commercial time. That's probably where it's going. It's not the right decision for the sport, in my opinion, but money is the end all be all. And that kind of just seems where everything is going, in my opinion. I don't think it'll be this year, 5 years, but 10, 15 years, I think it could be the case.
It's really going to be interesting how it's going to affect punt and punt return. And everyone just thinks, oh, it's just a normalcy in football here. But some of your best overall football players, like pure football players, are on those punt teams. Like your draft picks that are linebackers, they're on punt. Like even though they may be a second round pick, that's a big deal. Teams that win Super Bowls, Kansas City Chiefs, Coach Tobe, they have great special teams units. They have great special teams players. Some guys are just purely special teams players and depth defensive players. So I think it's going to hurt those guys. I think you're going to take more reaches on players, late round picks that may not play on special teams at all, but they're freaks of nature that can go in on third down and go rush a passer, even though before that fourth the end, they have to play on special teams because there's only 46 players that are active on game day, that are dressed, ready to play. Everyone, the other group of the 53 man is wearing hats and t-shirts like Jack and I are right now. And I've been that guy. I've been inactive. So I think you're going to see a little bit of that too. Just the value of maybe taking a player late round that you know is going to be a really good special teams linebacker, like a Tyler Medikevich, who was a 7th round pick for the Steelers and has led the NFL in special teams tackles over the years. He got paid. He took advantage of why he could, but they're going to stop paying those guys because they don't have. There's a half of the special teams are gone, so it has major impact. I know we're hit on this, and the fans are like, "What do you mean?" But from a player's perspective, like it affects a lot of players, and you're going to see less players, less fullbacks, less linebackers, less reach type things, tight ends that are physical. They may keep a receiving tight end on the roster now because, hey, he's a project kid. He doesn't need to go out there and block anybody on kickoff return or run down on kickoff anymore. And on punt, he's not going to play. We have our 4 linebackers that are on punt. So I know there's a lot that I digress there, and I don't want to take too much of your time. I want to get it to Craig here in a little bit, but some interesting stuff. Going to a game this year, guys. Punch and SeatGeek, they're the best, man. I love using SeatGeek as an app. Really easy way to buy your tickets, resell your ticket if it's not going to work out. Promo code Colin Thompson, my full name, COLINTHOMPSON for $20 off your tickets, $50 or more. SeatGeek, check them out. So Tom Brady staying in retirement. I'm not commenting whether he's coming out or not. That's his choice, and he said he wasn't, but and he probably isn't. Right? It's all good. But I was sitting the other day watching TV, watching a sports network. I'm not going to say which one it was. And one of the people at the end, after they were discussing this, was like, "Hey, it's good." He said, I wrote this down on my phone right away. It bothered me. He said, "It's time for other people to do it." I was like, wait, what? Time for other people to do it? Meaning Tom Brady's time's up in this league? He's a top 5, top 10 quarterback going in the next season, period. And he's the oldest quarterback in the entire league. I just drives me crazy that people think that he had a down year last year. Yes, his numbers suffered a little bit. Yes, the Bucs weren't what they have been, but a completely different roster than they've had from the 2 years before. We always talk about offensive line. Now all the fans talk about offensive line now, like they're offensive line gurus. He lost all 3 of his interior offensive linemen. One retired, it was all pro. The other all pro got hurt. And the other one left and signed elsewhere in Cincinnati. No Antonio Brown, no Gronk, no JPP, no Shaq Barrett. They're completely different rosters. Now, the Bucs still had a great football team. The Bucs still won big games. But that's a completely different roster. You need great rosters in the NFL to win, period, whether you have the best quarterback of all time or not. When the Bucs won the Super Bowl, that's a great roster. When the Patriots win Super Bowls while you're there, they're great rosters. So I just hate this talk of this guy, Tom Brady, was trending down, like this crazy metric of he's a downtrending player. Again, I'm not saying what he was when he was 38 or 41, but man, he's still a top 10 quarterback in the league. And any moment of time, he can come back and win a game like that. So that bothered me. That rubbed me. So we're going to do a little Gators talk, then hockey talk, bar of the week, and then get out of here. Jack, Gator 30 for 30 coming out, talking about really the heyday of the 2 national championships in 06 and 08. Massive personalities, massive just star players, loaded with successful and controversial coaching staff and a roster. And a university at the time that had a basketball team that won back-to-back national championships. Crazy recruiting stories will come out of this. Crazy practice stories, meetings. I've heard a lot of them. Things that I will not talk about on this show, sadly. Maybe one day when I'm done playing. But until then, I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out in this, because there will be tons that comes out in this 30 for 30. I can't wait for it. It is going to be dramatic. It has, it's the reason why I went to the University of Florida, right? Like I looked up and saw Aaron Hernandez's Mackey Award. This was before all the stuff went down, obviously, 2010. And I was like, wow. And my dad vividly remember that my dad being like, hey, this guy won a Mackey here. You can do the same. I was like, oh, sweet. That's a good point. It's a great point, Dad. You can do it here. Like, no, this is a great place. I remember seeing the national titles and meeting Brandon Spikes and the Pounceys and Tebow and just all these, absolute studs. So really looking forward to that 30 for 30. Jack, do you remember those Gator heydays at all? Were you too young for that kind of stuff?
No, I remember it because Tebow Mania was all like every 11-year-old's favorite like football player from like 2008 to 2012 was Tim Tebow. There was just everything about him. I really don't remember much about that team outside of Tebow. I remember a 12-year-old me being like, why is this guy not the first overall pick with how good he's been? But I very vividly remember Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer a little bit. I forget where he was and that sort of thing, but I know he was involved with the Tebow era. And those were kind of the main two. Really, as I got older, there was obviously Aaron Hernandez, Riley Cooper. Like, there's other people that I started to recognize.
Percy Harvin, Carlos Dunlap, Brandon Spikes, Major Wright. You're talking crazy. And the backups were crazy good. All the backups I played with, that team was the best team that ever achieved nothing. Cam Newton was on those teams. The backups, Cam was gone at this time. But the backups there were the best football team I've been on. That we went 12-1 and we ended up losing in the Sugar Bowl to Teddy Bridgewater, went 12-2 or whatever we did. But that team was nasty. To put in perspective, that was the Alabama Notre Dame national championship game when Alabama just ran them out of the building. But we were third in the country that year, and the team Muschamp 2012. It was like, oh my God. I remember watching Florida LSU and being like, I don't know if I can play at this level, like a puppy. I was 18 years old. Like, I don't know if I can do this. Now, I wish I was a little, at the time, I'm just being honest. I was second guessing, but then of course it worked out okay. But the 21-year-old version of myself could have. And all those guys out there were 21, 22, 23. I just probably didn't realize it at the time, at least other than Dante Fowler, he was playing, and some of the other guys I was in a boot on the sideline. I digress. Really looking forward to that one. And then a little hockey talk here as we finish up. Claude Giroux, literally my favorite Flyer of all time. Controversial in the sense that People say he's not a leader, he's not a winner, blah, blah, blah. Hockey is a team sport, a big time team sport. And I'm a huge Claude Giroux fan. I think he's extremely undervalued and unappreciated. So a tweet came out the other day at Sends Buzz, quote, Dorian said that Giroux told me we'll make the playoffs next year if we don't have to wear ties. I believe in doing things the right way still, and I believe in having structure for the young guys, but we eased up towards the end of the year. So there's a lot to unpack, but the bottom line is this. Claude Giroux saying that things eased up last year in Ottawa, a young team trending in the right direction, a team that's in a complete rebuild. They're starting to sign some veterans last year, again, trending in the right direction. He's saying that things got lax at the end of the year. All the fans online are chirping him. He did nothing with the Flyers. He was a bad captain. To me, he's an absolute stud, and he's 100% right. And here's why. 1,100 NHL games, over 1,000 points, 20 years of pro hockey, team captain, Team Canada, Flyers, 1,000 games with the Flyers, obviously an absolute leader for the Sens. He's done it at a high level. He knows exactly what he's talking about. And is it corny to say if we wear ties, we're going to make the playoffs? Sure. From the outside world, sure. But how you do anything is how you do everything. It's the little things like wearing a tie, tipping the equipment staff and the training room staff at the end of the year, thanking the food people, making sure the locker room's clean, like the sloppy little details that happen behind closed doors usually lead to sloppy little details that end up happening on the field, because if you're lazy with one thing, you'll probably be lazy with everything. So shout out to Claude Giroux. I think he's right. Everybody chirped him for it. If you're not in big business and leadership and you're not in sports and you may not understand that, but it's true. Like if your car's a mess and your house is a mess, you're probably a mess, right? Like it's all the same thing. He's saying the same thing. It's just, this happens to a team, especially with younger players, folks. Like he's talking about like 18, 19, 20-year-old professional athletes. Like put a suit and tie on. If you can't tie your tie, figure out how to tie it. We're going to get on the plane. We're going to look like professionals. We're going to do things the right way, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So I support Claude. I think it's a great comment out of him. And I think typically, of course, the media took it too far. All right, the bar of the week this week on the Colin Thompson Show, brought to you by Fudge Kitchen, shipping fudge and sweet treats across the country. FudgeKitchen.com is the Elbow Room in Fort Lauderdale. Matthew Tkachuk wearing the Elbow Room shirt last week when they won the Eastern Conference Final. And I said, man, I love the Elbow Room. I got to put this as the bar of the week. Been there many of times. It's the premier bar in Fort Lauderdale, right off the beach, no shower happy hour type vibe, right literally on the beach. You can't beat it. Downstairs, like this old school Florida bar with live music. Upstairs, a little bit more of a clubby vibe, cash only spot with great views all across the water. You can see down the kind of the strip and, what's a Beach Avenue there in Fort Lauderdale. You really can't beat it. So I love the Elbow Room, the bar of the week this week on the Colin Thompson Show. Food and ambiance. Never ate there. I don't even think they sell food, but the ambiance is a 5 out of 5. The service is a 5. TVs, I don't recall watching any TV there, so I'll give it a 3 out of 5, and then I'll give the beer a 4 out of 5. So 17 out of 20 overall for the Elbow Room. You know what? I'm going to edit that score. It's an 18 out of 20. We'll find a way to put another number in there. Put the 4 out of 5 on the TVs, Jack, because the Elbow Room is a great spot. You're in Fort Lauderdale. You have to go. A lot of good times in there with a lot of good people. You know who you are. That's Jack Connell. I'm Colin Thompson. I really hope you guys enjoyed Craig Reynolds this week. He's an absolute stud. He's got a great freaking story. Shout out to our sponsors, the original Fudge Kitchen, GEEK at Colin Thompson. Punch that in for $20 off, $50 or more. Actions over words apparel. Jack's rocking the hat today. Thank you, guys. Enjoy Craig Reynolds. All right, Craig Reynolds is in the house today. Craig, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. I'm chilling. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So where are you at right now? Your OTAs in Detroit, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. About 3-4 weeks in now.
I love it, man. Everyone wants to know, what's Coach Campbell like? I mean, you see it on HBO, Hard Knocks. I played for him in a rookie mini camp in New Orleans. Absolutely love the guy. He was the best tight end coach I've ever been around. Mm-hmm. At least in a 3-day period, the guy was unbelievable. What do you think about Coach Campbell?
I love him, man. He brings that energy. He's intense. He's fiery. He'd give up his arm to get out there on the field with us. He brings that kind of energy, and he knows the game well. I've learned a lot from him over these last couple of years playing here. The ins and outs of the game. It's just so much, but the staff that he's brought together, it's just been a great opportunity.
Yeah, you play for Deuce Staley. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bro, growing up in Philly, watching Deuce, was that cool for you? Like, is that a moment like, oh, wow, it's a full circle thing? I've had a couple of those in my career.
It's definitely dope, man. Like you said, growing up right in the area, seeing him play. And he was very knowledgeable too. Learned a lot from him as well. He brought the energy for sure. Every day, everything was a competition, but off the field, he was a great mentor as well.
That's great, man. That's great. All right, so there's a lot to unpack here, man. But how the hell do you end up at Kutztown and making plays in the NFL? I mean, it doesn't matter where you go in this world in college sports. It doesn't. If you're good, you're good. If you have the drive, the work ethic, no ego, you strip all those things down, and you're going to make it. You really will. I try to tell a lot of people that you can walk on anywhere. You can go play any level. Like, none of these rivals, camps, like, none of this shit matters. But what was your recruiting like? How'd you end up at Kutztown?
Throughout high school, like my sophomore year, I played more defensive back and like nickel, which is like barely used because everybody runs the ball so much. My junior year, I fought for a spot at running back. I ended up getting the job, but it wasn't like super explosive or anything like that. I'll be honest, like I wasn't that good to go to like a Division I school my junior year. But when I realized that, kind of took it personal because people are also telling me that as well. And you're not good enough, you're not big enough, you're not fast enough. So I'm like, all right, bet. So that whole off season, like I took it personal, man. Like I was going to the gym constantly. I was on YouTube looking for speed stuff. I was with my trainer lifting, 2-a-days, 3-a-days, whatever it took, just to get better day in and day out. I wrote my goals down, what I wanted to do. If anybody made like a comment or something like that, wrote them down just as motivation. I just tried to find every little motivation I could really find in everything and just used it as fuel, man. I was blessed to have a healthy season. And just made plays my senior year, but at the end of the day, it still wasn't enough to play at the Division I level. And then Kutztown recruited me to play running back. A lot of the other D2 schools wanted me to play defensive back, but I was like, I'm gonna play running back. I was more focused on just playing football. I was happy to play at the college level. So,
yeah, the Golden Bears, man. I've been there. My buddy in high school, his sister went there, so we would sneak out. Not really sneak out, but we go party there in high school. Say we're staying at a friend's house or whatever.
Yeah. It's not too far of a drive.
No, we go up, hit Spuds, fries late night, hit that up. I know the field there. It's a nice field. Now, who was the best player you played in the PSAC? There were some good players there.
Oh man, there's a bunch, man. The best player I played, defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, or just the best players that you like that we would know about.
Oh man, that's hard to say. I don't want to knock anybody. I played some tough defenses all around. Just 11 guys running the football. Cal, my sophomore year in the PSAC championship, I think we scored like 6 points. They put like 40 on us in the championship game. Westchester was always good. Shippensburg was always good. So we definitely had some battles in the PSAC for sure.
There's like players. There's a lot of players in the league. John Kuhn was big. Yep. Jordan Morgan. I played with Jordan in Chicago, Philly guy.
Yep. Who else? I think Brent Grimes went to Shippensburg. I know he's a little further back. Brent Grimes, corner or D-back. Yeah.
There's a lot. Jahari Evans, did he go?
Yeah, he went to Bloomsburg.
Boom. Yep. He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, the PSAC, for those that are listening, is like this conglomerate in Pennsylvania of just really good Division II football. And a lot of it's like players out of Philly and Pittsburgh and Ohio and like West Virginia that just whatever. Just like Craig, like they got missed in recruiting, transfers. What was that like? What was that grind like? Because now you're on the big bus. You got the, you're sitting first class if you're starting. You got ice cream on the way home. You got, food. It's like it's a joke. Like we're spoiled. It's awesome, and we get used to it, But like, what was that grind like? That D2 grind? Like what food you have in the off season? What food you are bussing everywhere? Like how'd that go?
Oh, it's definitely a grind, man. You get like one shirt and a pair of shorts, and that's like your lifting gear for the season, But I appreciate the path that I was on, and I'm very blessed because it molded my mentality for sure, and that's helped me at this level. Just grinding no matter what it takes. You don't need cool equipment. You don't need, all types of different gear, but it was just we were playing football and we loved what we did. And we worked hard at it. I'm blessed to have the people in my life along the road, whether it's teammates, trainers, dad, my siblings, friends that have helped me get to where I'm at. And, they, I wasn't really, loud about trying to go to the NFL, but it was always a goal. But there was other goals. I wanted to win a PSAC championship. I wanted to break records at that level and win with the guys I was with. But at the same time, also knew that, I was chasing, that next level. But yeah, it's just a part of the journey, man. And it kept me hungry for sure.
Yeah. There's you mentioned your dad there, and your dad is a legendary, coach, mentor. It produced you and your brother, your brother's the best football player I've ever seen with my own two eyes. I remember when he was at CB South, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I forget what game we were at, but just going to like probably the first or second year CB South came to be born.
Yeah, it was early on. Yep.
Early on. I mean, like, man, this guy's nasty. And then obviously you, who's got just tremendous work ethic and so much fun to watch. And you're in like the perfect place, dude, for like who you are as like a human being, a great dude, but also like a grinder and like getting shit done the right way.
Appreciate that.
It was cool to see you in Hard Knocks, man. It was great. Now, like because I don't like watching it because I'm in training camp. Like I don't need to watch it. I'm already going through it.
Right.
Like, everyone talked about it. Like, and then after the season, I don't want to watch it because I'm trying to take a break. So
right.
I don't watch a ton of Hard Knocks. But what was that experience like? I know you get that question a lot. Like, what was it? With the cameras around. Like, explain like the whole experience of them being around.
It was cool. I mean, like you said, whenever I was in camp, I really didn't watch the other team's Hard Knocks. But the cameras were around. They were, very subtle about it. You really wouldn't see them. And then having a piece on there, it was interesting. Sometimes, you get mic'd up and it's like, okay, you just got to remember you're mic'd up. Can't say everything you really want to, Yeah. But it was fun. They did a great job. NFL Films did a great job. Enjoyed it. And it, they got some good moments, some bad moments. Just, they got to make TV out of it. It is what it is. But it was fun.
Were you able to say like, no, I don't want that on my thing? Like, do you have any say in it, or did the team?
Yeah, you could. I mean, or at least I think you could. But they worked with you. They definitely did work with you, and they knew not to put like bulletin board material or something did come up. They wouldn't put that out to the public, But they still wanted to make entertainment for the folks that watch and kind of give like a deep look into what a training camp is like in the NFL.
Yeah, it was between us and you guys, I believe, Carolina and then Detroit. I'm like, oh man, please no, like
listen.
That, and then a part of me, and then of course, like Jack and everybody at the media company here was like, oh yeah, please, like they want it. It's good for your branding and all. Now, did you see yourself getting more followers out of it? Like, because I know a lot of guys have exploded in that.
A little bit. I definitely say a little bit. I definitely I'll get recognized sometimes just like being out in Detroit just off of it. And the little pieces that they did on me. But when it was between us two, I didn't want it either. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to focus. And then as soon as we got the call, I was like, damn, because I kind of knew I'd probably be a piece. You know, the small school, the brother part, trying to make the roster. I'm like, yeah, I'm like Hard Knocks gold. And people were telling me, like, oh, you're definitely going to be, and then boom, you know, it starts. So
I love it, man. Yeah. Now, what's Detroit like? Because from the outside, it's like Detroit's kind of a rougher city,
yeah,
but I worked out in Detroit. Let's see, 2019, 18, somewhere in there. Yeah, it could have been 2019. I worked out at a mini camp with the Giants, mini camp with New Orleans. That's where I ran into Coach Campbell. And then I had a workout with Detroit. I didn't make it. They took another guy. But I remember being excited. Like, I want to be here. I want to be a part of this. I like the physicality. I like all that stuff. And I was looking around the city. I'm like, man, there's a lot of good places to eat. Looks like there's some great bars. You got the Tigers. Like, what's there to do? Red Wings. I'm a huge hockey fan. How far from Canada? What's Detroit about?
it's not as bad as the rumor is about it or whatever you want to call it. I definitely enjoy it. There are good areas. It's like every city. You got good areas, you got bad areas, you know. But like you said, the food's great. The fans are great, man. They're ride or die fans, man. They pack Ford Field every weekend. And football games has its ups and downs, and they're with us all the way until the fourth quarter, no matter what the score is. So, love the fans here. The city's great downtown. You take it out to the Royal Oak area, Birmingham. Like there's nice areas, man. I'm definitely enjoy it. The winters too. Winters are harsh. I'm not gonna lie, but and then you got Canada, which is not a far drive. So if you ever get bored of Detroit, you can just drive across the bridge.
Now, are you the guy who's traveling every weekend on OTAs, traveling a little bit, or like you're there once OTAs start? Because there's people may not know, but like a lot of guys, maybe 75% of the team live elsewhere because you're on the bottom of the roster or like whatever it may be. You may have you may live in, like my wife and I live in Annapolis, Maryland. So like, this is our hub, but I'll go play somewhere. We'll rent a place, like now what's your vibe like?
For me personally, it's a little bit. So, depending on, if we do, like some teammates want to go somewhere or, I go back and visit family and friends back in PA. But, I've spent a couple weekends just back here, just relaxing for the most part. But yeah, I'd say I'm like a half and half. One weekend I might just say, yeah, I don't want to really go anywhere. But if it's cold,
nice.
you see rain on the forecast, like, okay, yeah, maybe I want to go somewhere else or something. Just cause you got the free time in OTAs to do that.
Yeah, for those that don't know that are listening, you're done Thursday at like 2 p.m. So
yeah,
you got time to get out. You got time to get out for sure. Now, DeAndre Swift, Philly guy, obviously in Philly now. What do the Eagles get? Is this did you know DeAndre before from high school?
Yeah. Well, we worked out together. He knew my dad probably a little bit more, just doing like running back camps and stuff like that, than me necessarily. But we definitely built a relationship, here on the Lions while we were together. But yeah, Philly's they got a talented running back, man. He can ball. We all know that. So
yeah, good deal, man. That's awesome. Now, what's your dad up to? Is he still coaching?
Yeah, he's on the tail end. I think he's gonna hang it up soon. But he's having fun. He's happy.
Is he the coach of the Lions this year? Is he coming in? Deuce left. Is he coming in or what?
No, he'll definitely make his appearances though. He'll probably come up here in the OTAs, and then he loves coming to camp and just watching ball.
Yeah.
So he's just a football fan.
Is he jacked? Like, how many camp practices? You come out for like a week and then a preseason too? Like, how's he schedule it?
So he'll come. Like last year, he came to a couple practices in Detroit. Went to a preseason game, and then he came out to Pittsburgh because we played the Steelers preseason too. And then he's been to a few games. He came when we played Philadelphia week 1 last year. Yeah, he's been to a few games now. We'll try to get him to a little bit more this year. We had the NFC East last year as our, the schedule. So a lot of the games are closer, but we'll see what happens this year. Try to get him to a few.
Did you guys join practice against Pittsburgh?
We not. We joined practice against the Colts, and then we have the Giants this year.
Okay. So overall thoughts on joint practice?
They're interesting. They're fun. Very competitive.
Yeah.
I can see both sides of the argument, the people that don't like them or the guys that do. But I just control what I can, man. That's my motto. Like if they're on the schedule, it is what it is. There ain't no complaining about it.
Yeah, no. I think it's interesting. Like I always tell people, it's harder than a game, in my opinion, because there's gonna be some personal agendas from some players on each team in a joint practice because it's not on national TV. You could be a little bit more aggressive. You're not going to get toasted.
Yeah.
So you see bigger hits, you see bigger interceptions, you see everything's amplified more. Like inside run is like, how's this going to go down here?
Yeah.
Like how are we going to handle it? And of course, for me, I'm blocking tight end. Like I'm down for that action. But my thing is like, how are we going to do this, boys? It's week 3 of training camp. Like what's this going to be? Is it going to be chippy after the whistle? Like we play New England. We had a player took a shot at a New England player, and then New England players took a shot at Christian McCaffrey, and then a brawl breaks out, right? And then like it ended up going into the crowd. You probably saw it, but
yeah, I did.
It's like so it could change just like that, and that's what I mean by it. Is I love them because it gives you an opportunity to showcase like what you can do in front of our team. And I was hurt last year when we faced New England. I was bummed for that because I wanted to show like, hey, they were like interested in me pre-draft. So I wanted to show like, hey, I could play here and I'd be a good fit, but I got hurt and couldn't do it. I joined practicing against, let's see, in my life, we did Colts. I did Colts. Were you in Indianapolis?
Oh yeah. We went to Indy.
That's nice there, that facility.
I do. I like the setup. It's you walk.
Were you in Indy? Were you at the Colts or were you at like the big huge facility like off campus?
The big huge facility. They have like an indoor where we did like our little mini locker room. You drive the cart, they drive you up there, and then it's 2 fields.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did. It was pretty nice, man. They had the nice the fans on one side. O goes over here, D goes that way, and you don't see each other until after practice, essentially. But like you said, man, those things are intense. And the one thing about like games is nonstop. Over there, it's like 7-on-7. Okay, pass is coming. 9-on-7, a run is coming. Oh, punt rush drill, no gunners. The ball doesn't even matter. It's just tee off on the dude in front of you. That it's
doesn't happen. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, I remember playing on kickoff return, and the practice started getting chippy. And like, all right, kickoff return. I'm like, oh man, here we go. And I'm on KOR. And I felt literally like we were like, it was like 300 and we're crossing a desert with like shields and swords. Like, just like, here we go. You got to do it. Because if not, you're going to get punked or you're just going to look really bad on film.
Right.
Happened to me. We joined practice against Baltimore. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And it like, I turn around. It was like kind of a muffed kick, I believe. I was a kickoff return. And I'm like the back end guy. I'm like not the off returner, but whatever, the up backs, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
And the guy either muffed it or the timing was off. And like the fullback, not Ricard, the backup was right on me. And I looked super soft. I'm like absorbing the hit because I'm right there. He's right in front of me. What do I do? Like, right. So I looked bad on film and I was embarrassed by it, but that's how the league goes, man. Like,
yeah,
you the world.
Right. You're gonna get got sometimes. I forget what the Marshawn Lynch phrase is. Like, I'm gonna get got, but I'm gonna get mine more than I get got though. Like that's you're playing the best in the world. And those joint practices, like you said, man, everybody's trying to tee off. It's just different compared to your own team practices. It gets methodical. You see the same face. Like, okay, he knows my move on the choice route, or I know when he's blitzing, he stare like. But when you play a different team, everybody's going balls to the wall. Them special teams is no joke. That's no joke.
And that's bread and butter for you, right? That's
yep.
Like, I gotta go. I gotta show out here. And if I get cut from Detroit, God forbid, the Colts saw me. This team saw me. Joint practice is like they carry a lot of weight. Preseason games matter. They really do. They're everything. If you make some big plays, great. But this joint practice is like 2 more preseason games.
Facts. And you can get a lot of tape. You can get a lot of tape out of that. Like you said, for for each team.
Bro, when I was in Chicago, I played 5 preseason games. This is 2000, Coach Nagy's first year. Yeah, man, 2018. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. 5.
I can imagine. Is it because you had the Hall of Fame game?
Hall of Fame game, Urlacher, Ray Lewis.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Bears, Ravens. So played that
Yeah.
game. We had, I can't remember them all now. Kansas City. It doesn't even matter who they were. But at the end of the day, man, like we had a rookie mini camp in training camp before training camp. Let's just say that. Because that was
you
your
report early?
I had to report early. So I'm in Cape May, my wife.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to this grocery store to have one like big final meal before I go off. But like I was not leaving until the next week. And it was like a weekend. And they called me and the Bears were like, hey, we didn't realize we thought you had a credited season, but you don't. So technically you're still a rookie. Can you come to the rookie minicamp? So I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess so. I don't have
Right.
a choice. But I'm like, listen, I can't leave until this time. Like I didn't know this until 3 days before. I can't just fly out right now. So they flew me out like 2 days later. And we went out there. That was the year that Roquan Smith held out. I don't know if you remember that, but Roquan got drafted early on and he didn't that's when I don't know the details of it, but the bottom line is he held out.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to have a mini camp. I don't know if it was because of him or not, but we had a 3-day mini camp. I was the only tight end. So
That's
any
cool.
short routes, my tight end coach ran them in 7-on-7. And then any long routes, I ran them.
That's crazy.
I died. But
And then had 5 games after, that's a
then
long
the team
game.
shows up. You have a day off. Then the team showed up. Then we had to run our conditioning test.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
I became a man. I thought I was a man. I became a man that year. Yep.
That's
'Cause I
no
made
joke,
mistakes.
man.
Drop balls in the Hall of Fame game. I never drop balls. I might be
Mhm.
slow as shit, but I don't drop balls. And so that man, that was a year. I remember being on the field in Chicago, hands on my knees, looking up at the skyline, because I had so much fun the year before on the practice squad there. I love Chicago, great city.
Yeah.
Soldier Field, sweet. And I was like, man, I want to play here forever. Do everything you can. I could barely run back on kickoff return, dude. I was so tired. I digress. Enough about me. NFC North. What a fun place to play. I thought Minnesota was sweet. I never played in Detroit Stadium. I thought Minnesota was a beautiful stadium. We played it during COVID, so there was kind of nothing in there. So I found myself looking around.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
That was shitty, man. That was the COVID year. We played at Green Bay, at Minnesota, and I played in Chicago a bunch because I went there. And then we played you guys, I guess, at home. Yeah, we did. I played well that game. There's not that many of them. I remember them. So, what's it like playing in the NFC North, man? Like tons of tradition between these teams, like great stadiums, great cities.
It's fun, man. I mean, like you said, Minnesota, that's a fun place to play, man. All the way through the game. Them entrances, the horn, the skull clap, the fake snow coming down, the energy in there, it's loud. You got half glass, half, roof ceiling, whatever you want to call it. It's nice, man. And then playing Green Bay, both times I've played there have been night games. We had Monday night and Sunday night football there. So, man, that stadium is different. I mean, they're right on top of you. They're loud. And you're just playing you're just playing that. You can just feel how legendary that place is. Soldier Field, that place is nice. There's a lot of good atmospheres that you go into that you're gonna have to pretty much go into every year.
Yeah.
Week in, week out. It's fun. It's definitely fun. And everybody has something different, that brings something different to the table.
Yeah, that's a great division. And it's funny. All the divisions we look at, and they all have different personalities too in their own way, like where they're located, who the type of people the fans are, type of players.
Yeah.
That's why it's great where you're at. Did you play any games in Washington? I probably should know that. I
played 3 games. I got my accredited season in Washington my rookie year. Clutch.
How many years do you have?
Every year has been accredited, so 4 accredited seasons.
See? Listen, folks, you have no idea how big that is. So, major. So Craig has his pension. And for someone who's played 7 years of pro football, I do not have mine.
That's wild, man.
Wild. And that's the NFL for you folks. So I played 2020. I played in 15 games. 2021, I was on the active roster for 14 games, 13 games. This year felt good to make the roster. Business as usual. Boom, got hurt and practice squad the whole year, which is still a blessing because I injury, like, you know, you could be at home. So like they value me, and I love my time in Carolina. I'd love to go back. But yeah, long story short, man. Yeah. And then I was practice squad. I was Giants. I had emergency appendectomy, practice squad with the Bears, XFLA. Yeah. So good for you, man. That's huge. That is
Definitely. Definitely blessed. It's funny though, my Jags, I was with the Jags my second year, and I played in like 2 games, special teams, 1 catch, 1 carry, nothing crazy. But that last week, this is that COVID season. I forget what happened, but we had running back issues, and they needed me on active roster because they weren't sure. And once they realized it was too late, I think it was by Thursday or whatever. So they had to put me back on practice squad after Thursday. Well, I already get credit for that week of the game. So then they released me. I don't even travel to Minnesota. I'm at home and get the game check and the accredited game. And I wasn't even there. Wasn't even there.
Wow.
And it was the third one. Like, I needed it. So it was clutch. That's all God right there.
And that COVID year, a lot of guys got their pension out of that because I got cut in 21, and that's when COVID started like creeping back again. And they were not testing guys anymore. I got cut at the end of 21, and I went back to the Panthers practice squad. But for me, who's like a bottom level NFL guy, my phone was ringing off the hook from teams like, okay, why'd they cut him? Is he healthy? We have no tight ends left. Everyone's got COVID. Like, we need him. Bring him in. Like, I was like, let's go. I was like, I'm out. You know, like, even though I wanted to be in Carolina, I was devastated I got cut. But I ended up going back there, re-signing. It was all good. But, yeah, man, that COVID year was crazy. Dude, talk about getting tested.
Bro,
you were 20. That was crazy.
Yeah, so it was 2 probably big years that COVID really impacted us, right? 20 and 21, right?
Yep.
That 21 year was my first year in Detroit, and we were testing, and I was going to be up for a game. It was the Broncos game, my first really career game getting carries. But I thought initially the plan was I was just going to play special teams. Swift was down, and we needed a back. And I think somebody else was sick, but they didn't have COVID. They just had flu. I'm getting all this extra special teams work with my coach. Scout comes, or whoever does our scheduling comes by and goes, Jamal Williams just tested positive for COVID. So now I am pretty much the only running back to get carries. And my special teams coach was like, yeah, this meeting's over. So this is Friday. So all week I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to play a little special teams. Friday I found out like I'm about to run. This is the first time in my career. And, you know, we came up short in the game. We lost pretty bad, you know, and it is what it is. It was actually the week that we played the Broncos when DT passed away. So like they were just rocking over there. You know, and that was such a sad event. You know, they had a bunch of stuff going on for him. But yeah, that COVID stuff definitely was able to get guys opportunities, pensions, accrediteds, whatever you want to call it. Different guys, different opportunities, man. And then the testing and all that stuff, bro, that was crazy. You had to factor in getting there earlier than you normally do because you got to get swabbed. And it's like, sometimes like early on, you had to wait for a text to let you in the building, let you know you passed. Then we got past that. Practice squad guys had to meet separately virtually because if somebody did have COVID in the room, you didn't want the practice squad guys to get it. So they can just be like, it was just so much, man. The mask wearing, dudes having to wear masks, couldn't share bottles. Like, oh my gosh,
every day we had a test. Every day we had a test, and there were some days where our building shut down. It was like the healthiest I ever was because we had off days.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Like we can't practice today. We have 10 guys with COVID. We got to just walk through. We can't physically. We don't have enough offensive linemen. We don't. You know, you have an indie. Right? Hard indie, catch balls, and then you got to walk through the team period. So, like,
yeah,
I'm a fan of it, you know, taking care of guys, but I didn't really understand of it I thought you had to get set your pads and all, and I think you do, but like,
Yeah.
I'm for it. But like after a certain point, it's like my pads are set. I'm
Right.
like they're ready to go. And that was my best football I ever played my entire life, youth, whatever. Yeah, man, that COVID year was crazy though. We had a little technical difficulty there. All good on our end now, but
Yeah, that's my bad. My bad.
no, you're fine, man. No, it's funny. Okay, so let's say I want to say it's something because some of these questions I'd ask you off air, and I don't want to put you on the spot on air.
Go ahead. I don't care. I don't care. If it's a question I like, I'll just the question doesn't matter.
No, it's always like to me as a player. Or here's a good one. I want to ask a strong question. This is like, again, folks, this is the best part of podcasting is I'm not submitting this to some, award-winning journal here. I can talk through my questions on air. When if you're a professional on radio, you got to have the question right here. Technical difficulties. Here we go. We'll cut it here, Jack. Boom. Art, we're back. Some technical difficulties there, Craig. When you get your schedule, what are the main things you are looking at on that schedule in the distance?
As far as who we play?
Yeah, so who we play. Let me say this again. We'll cut this here. Craig, when you get your schedule from the NFL, and we're recording this early May, and this will come out in a week or two.
Yeah.
The schedule is going to be out by the time this comes out. What are the main things as a player you are looking at?
A lot of different things. First, anything close to home, or if we do play a hometown team, we got Philly guys. We can get to DC a little bit, Baltimore, Giants, Jets. You're hoping for those kind of games. But other things, you're going to look at, who you got when. Do you have to go to a cold city late in the year, or do you have to go down south early in September where it's going to be hot? You look at those kind of things. You look at state income tax states, like who's going to be killing the checks. There's a lot of it. Then you look for like, oh, I'm about to play my man's. Like you already know week such and such, I'm gonna need that jersey. Like there's a lot of different stuff, man. There's a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, there's some really good ones there. I was waiting. Okay, I'm like, all right, close to home. He said it. Taxes said it. Your buddy who you're going to play, start looking at who you're going to jersey swap with, said it. Cold weather and hot weather, huge. Are you going to Miami in September?
Yeah.
Or are you going to Green Bay in January?
Right.
Like, that's big for you too, because you could be playing in Minnesota and Detroit, and they're indoors in those months, which I feel like the schedule makers try to do a little bit. No,
I'm not sure. The one time we got blessed with getting Green Bay early, we had Green Bay at Green Bay week 2. So that was cool. But then the next year, this past season, they gave us some week 18, and that thing was cold, man. I didn't dress. I was inactive. But I was bundled up and I was cold, man. So I can only imagine.
Hot chocolate, bro. When those cold games, I was bundled. We played you guys this year. It was freezing in Charlotte.
That was crazy. The ground was like hard as a rock.
That was bad. Yeah. And Jared came out and talked about the turf. That was good. Yeah. There's been a push too to put some grass down there because we had the best grass in the league, in my opinion. It was so nice.
When did the move happen?
2020 we had grass. 2021 they put turf in. Oh, yeah, we got an MLS team. More going on there.
Okay.
And it's the old debate, like Premier League, they only play on grass. So we could technically be like, hey, you got to roll out grass for the home games. But I digress. No, I get it. Like for a city, it has huge impact. Like I'll never forget this 2021. I always tell this story. There was 3 college football games that the weekend off we have before the NFL season starts, college football kickoff. It was like ECU versus Charlotte, App State versus Duke, and Clemson versus Georgia. They played 3 straight days. The city was packed. Every hotel was sold out. Every bar was packed. Uber drivers, airport. Like I was like, you know what? The economical impact of that is massive. If you have grass, it's never happening. It's never happening.
Right.
Maybe a game on a Thursday, maybe a game on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But no, they have like concerts. So much as it pains me, it's good for Charlotte, the city. Bad for your knees if you're Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. Nah, that's I'm not a big turf guy. For me, I went to Abington, so we were one of the very few grass schools in the area. all of our away games are pretty much turf. So it's like, dang, man, I wish we had turf. I wish we had turf. Then you get to college, and every PSAC school has turf. So I'm playing on turf nonstop. Get to the NFL, and then you finally get on some good grass. You're like, bruh, this stuff is amazing.
We had it in Florida, man. You could play golf on it, like literally. Obviously, Gainesville. It was ridiculous. It was stupid.
Right. Once you get that good grass, you don't want to go back, man.
No doubt. All right, well, what's the plans, man? Any vacations coming up before the season starts? Any time away with the family?
No, I kind of pretty much took all my vacations.
Yeah, me too.
You get that OTAs and that's summer break, man. It's only like 5 weeks.
It goes by quick.
So that's why I'm like, for me personally, I'm gonna try to get my traveling on the Thursday to Sunday. Like if I do want to go see a city, or I didn't fly until I was my rookie year in the league, so I didn't travel much. So now I feel like I'm trying to get out as much as I can.
Where's been your favorite spot? Where's been some spots where you're like, damn, okay, I'm liking this?
Man, I'm not gonna lie, like Florida. I've been down to Florida, and it's like you just can't beat the weather, man. I've been out to Scottsdale. Arizona's nice. Can't beat the weather, man. But that gets a little too hot. Same thing with Florida, but it depends on the time of the year. But
we got to get you down to Key West this year. Got to get you down to Key West, Florida this year for the my kids' camp. Mekhi Sargent was there this year. He's from Key West. I don't know if you know Mekhi, running back for Jacksonville.
I don't.
Been on the practice squad there. He played at Iowa. Crazy story, dude, from Key West, like 2 mile by 4 mile island. Like we're talking end of the road. And
oh, snap. Yeah.
Southernmost point in the United States. Like go to Miami, drive 4 hours south. That's or you fly in there, but that's how you get there. And Mekhi went to, I think, Iowa City Community College out of Key West. I think he was there for like 2 years, balled out, and then Iowa offered him, and then he had a great little run in Iowa. So he was
that's
there.
Crazy. Key West to Iowa.
Crazy, bro. Yeah. And now he's with Jax. He's trying to make it. But we'll talk about it off air. But dude, keep traveling, man. Keep doing you. I'm bummed I can't see you on Hard Knocks this year.
That.
I could be able to see you on Hard Knock. I know you're happy about it.
That's a good one-time thing, man. I don't know if I could do that multiple times.
Craig Reynolds, Philly area legend, and PSAC legend, Detroit Lions legend now. So
appreciate you having me, man. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
Well.